After bulk recruitment of more than 2000 civil engineers last year by Telangana government, again this year the government has released a notification for recruitment of civil and other engineers. So I thought to make a video specially for preparing state government exams, because the preparation strategy for GATE exam and state government exam is quite different. So in this video I will be explaining you the preparation strategy. So we have around 2 months for preparation. So in this, how effectively we can utilize this time period, I will be discussing now subject wise. So first we will see the primary details of the notification. So the notification for assistant executive engineers. So the assistant executive engineers in Telangana government will have a pay scale of basic 37,100 to 91,450, which means that you will get a net pay of around 51 to 52,000. So we can take 51,000. So we can get around 51,000 in hand net pay. Okay, so the notification says the R&B department has 106 vacancies and irrigation department has 204, combinedly 310 civil engineering vacancies. So apart from this, there is tribal welfare department, which is combined for both civil and mechanical. So in the notification there are posts which are specifically for mechanical, specifically for civil, and some for electronics and electrical. But this tribal welfare is combined for both civil or mechanical, combinedly it is 21. So individually how many for civil or mechanical, they did not mention anything here. So approximately we can take, we have around 331 posts. Okay, so in this 310 posts is exclusively for civil engineers, okay, in AEE cadre. Okay, so next regarding the exam details. So for general studies, most of the general studies in state government exams will be concentrated on that particular state only. So most of the general studies questions will be based on Telangana only, so we have to concentrate more on that. And in technical paper, that is civil core, we will have same 150 questions here, but each question will carry 2 marks, so 300. So here each question carry only 1 mark, so 150 marks. So total 450 marks for exam and 50 marks for interview. Okay, so this is the exam details given. Next, the application will start from 6th June and last date for applying is 11th July. Okay, and the tentative exam date is given as 5th or 6th August. Okay, so the exam is actually conducted in 3 sessions because there are different branches and different exams. So there are 3 sessions, that is 5th forenoon, 5th afternoon and 6th forenoon. Okay, so exam will be conducted in 3 sessions. Okay, so now we will see what are the important topics which we have to concentrate for state government exam for civil engineers. So first I will start with building materials and construction management. Unlike GATE exam, this building materials and construction management is very important for state government exams. Definitely you will get some considerable questions, considerable number of questions in state government exam. Suppose if you see GATE exam, geotechnical engineering plays a major role, around 14 to 15 marks we get. But in state government, geotechnical engineer will not have that much importance. Definitely we get questions from geotechnical engineering also. So the weightage distribution for each subject will vary here. So that is why in detail I will tell you in each subject what are the topics which are very important for us within 2 months, what you have to cover compulsorily. Okay, so first thing is in building materials, bricks. So in bricks, definitely you have to know what are the sizes of bricks that are available and what are the types of bondings we have, that is English bond, Flemish bond, stretcher bond, header bond, what is full brick, half brick. So these details about the bricks, and also what are the types of brick bats. Okay, queen closures, king closure. So what are the types of closures, cuts we have. So that are also very important. What is split, what is queen closure, what is king closure. Okay, so read the details and then you can leave the remaining part of bricks, that's not important. Next, in the syllabus, wood or timber is not mentioned, but still we have seen in previous papers also, even though they did not mention about the timber, still we got some questions from timber. So I suggest you to read what are the types of seasoning methods we have for wood and what are the IS code numbers we have. Okay, so that is very important for timber. Okay, so what are the IS code numbers we have in timber, so that also you read, and also what is the micro and macro structure of the wood. Okay, so microstructure is not so important. Micro means the parameters which are not visible to human eye. Macro means which are visible to human eye. So this is very important. So when we see the cross section of the wood, so what are the things that are visible to us, so they come under macro structure. Okay, so observe the details of macro structure and what are the defects of timber that we get. Okay, so we have to read about the seasoning, IS codes, macro structure, and also what are the defects that we are going to get for wood. Okay, so with this we can leave timber. Okay, next coming to concrete. So in concrete we have three materials, so that is cement, fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. Okay, so each and every test of cement is very important. So completely read all the tests that are there in cement, whether it is soundness test, fineness test, permeability test. Okay, so read all the types of tests for cement, and also tests for coarse aggregate is also very important, like elongation test, angularity number, crushing test, so impact test. So read all the tests that are present for coarse aggregate also, and also tests for concrete. So for concrete we have compression strength test, split tensile strength test, so and non-destructive test. Okay, so from concrete technology, so among building material definitely more number of questions will come from concrete technology only. Okay, so you have to concentrate more on concrete technology, so don't leave anything from this, and don't read details of the tests. So just you have to read what are the types of tests available and why do we conduct it. Okay, so suppose if I say Leach-Artlier test, immediately you should be able to say it is for soundness. Okay, autoclave test for soundness. So like this, why the test is conducted, what is the name of the test, that's all. So that details are very important for us. Okay, so read in that way. We don't require what is the test procedure, that is absolutely not required for us. So just read what is the equipment we use for initial and final setting time, wicket apparatus. So in this way, so just read the outline of the experiment, don't read the details, it is waste of time. Okay, so read all the outline details of concrete technology and bricks and timber, whatever the topics I have said, just look at that. Okay, next when we come to management, first estimation. So in estimation we will be getting questions like how many bricks are there in 1 meter cube. So suppose if you know the standard brick size 20 by 20 by 10, so in 1 meter cube how many bricks you can fit? Approximately 500 bricks. So like this, in estimation we will be getting with respect to size how many bricks we need, how many cement bags we need, for if you follow 1:2:4 ratio, how many cement bags we need. So like this type of questions we may get in estimation. So see such type of problems. And also in estimation, another important factor is you have to know units of measurement, that is also very important. Okay, so see, you can see any tender document, you can get the details. Suppose if you take full brick wall is measured in meter cube, but half brick wall is measured in meter square, and concrete RCC is measured in meter cube, but steel is measured in tons. So in this way, what are the units of measurement we have? Suppose if you take a door, the frame of the door is measured in meter cube, but the shutter of the door is measured in meter square. So like this, the units of measurement of all the components is also very important. Okay, plastering meter square like this. Okay, next regarding CPM and PERT, only read the outline of this, as calculator will not be allowed for most of the state government exams. You need not worry about CPM and PERT, just know what is CPM and PERT, like, so which is event based, which is activity based. We know CPM is activity based and PERT is event based. So what is the abbreviation of CPM? Critical path method, project evaluation and review techniques. So simple outlines. So where do we use CPM? Okay, so you need not read the complete method, so just know the outline of this method, so that is also very important. Okay, next, coming to cost analysis. In cost analysis, you have to read what is direct cost, what is indirect cost, what is indirect cost, and some definitions like what is sink fund factor and what is scrap value, etc. Okay, so scrap value. So scrap value of concrete is negative, scrap value of steel is positive. So what is the basic definitions we have to read? And in tendering, so you have to read what are the types of contracts we have, what are the types of tenders we have, what is the difference between contract document and tender document, and some important definitions like what is earnest deposit, which is maximum 1%. There is no rule that it has to be 1%, but maximum is limited to 1%. And what is security deposit, so which is 10% as per the government norms. Okay, and what are the types of contracts and tenders. Contracts and what are the types of tendering. Okay, so basic details what we have to read from tendering, cost analysis, CPM and PUT, and estimation. Okay, so with this we can finish building materials and construction management. Okay, next we will see the important topics from strength of materials. Now we will see the important topic from strength of materials for state government exams. Okay, so first topic is simple stresses. So in these simple stresses we will be reading several definitions like stress and strain curve, what is proof stress, what is Young's modulus. So like this we will be reading several definitions, what is endurance limit, what is fatigue, okay, what is stress, what is strain. So like this all the primary definitions we will be reading in simple stress, and everything is important in simple stress. So whether it is temperature stress, normal stress, everything is important in simple stress. So you have to completely read this simple stress. So there are no complex formulas in simple stress, so you can read this completely. And in complex stress, for exam point of view, you can read only Mohr circle concept. Okay, so with Mohr circle itself we get most of the answers, so that's why read the Mohr circle part in complex stresses and leave the remaining. Okay, next, coming to bending stress. So we know bending stress equation is completely governed. So bending stress, shear stress and torsional stress. So we have bending stress equation M by A equal to F by Y is equal to E by R. Okay, so bending stress is completely governed by this equation, and shear stress, we know shear stress tau is given by FA Y bar by IB, and the torsional stress is given by T by J is equal to tau by R is equal to G into theta divided by L. Okay, so this is bending equation, shear equation and torsional equation. So in these three, particularly from bending topic you will be getting more questions. Apart from that, the next important is, so first is this, second is this, and the third important is this formula. So in this you have to read what is the maximum stress and average stress and the ratios for different cross sections like rectangle. For rectangle, what is the ratio of average stress and maximum stress? What is the ratio of maximum average stress for triangle, for rectangle, for diamond section? So like this, for different types of sections, what is this ratio? So you have to remember that ratios, that is very, very important. And some problems on these equations, very small problems you may get. Okay, so apart from this, nothing you can you need to read from this. Okay, so this equation is not so important for us, but still you have to know the variations with respect to cross section. So suppose if I take a I section Suppose if I take a I section, how the shear stress will vary with respect to I section. So we know for I section it varies like this. Okay, so suppose if it is a rectangle, the variation will be like this. Okay, so in this way, how the shear stress is varying with respect to depth, so that also we have to study. Okay, and another thing is, for triangular section we don't get the maximum shear stress at the neutral axis, we get the maximum shear stress at a height h by 2. That is very important bit which you have to remember in shear stress chapter. And in T by J, tau by R, G theta by L, mostly from this topic we will be getting problematic questions. As in state government exam, calculator is not allowed, so maybe a theoretical question may come from this equation, or you may not get a question. This is an important topic definitely, but when calculator is allowed, this is very important. When calculator is not allowed, we may not get much questions from this. Okay, so as Telangana government examination now, whatever they are conducting, as they are not allowing calculator, so you may or may not get this question. Just see how the shear stress is varying with respect to depth. So only theoretical and conceptual question, not problematic. Okay, so how the shear stress is varying with respect to radius. So this is a shear stress and this is also shear stress. Torsional shear stress is maximum at the end, but the bending shear stress is maximum at the center. Okay, so this is just reverse, both are shear stress only, but this is minimum at neutral axis, but this is maximum neutral axis. Okay, that is just opposite, even though they are shear stresses. So like this, what are the conceptual questions we have from these topics? So just read that and leave the remaining things. Okay, next, regarding SFD and BMD, so I have made a special video on identifying shear force diagram, bending moment diagram without doing any calculation. So that video itself will be more than sufficient for solving state government examination. So just watch the video and see some examples from textbook, that will be enough. Okay, so regarding springs, so just read what is axial stiffness and springs in parallel case and series case. Okay, so that's all. Apart from that, nothing is important. Okay, next, columns and struts. So in columns and struts, what is the effective length, what is Rankine method, and what is Euler method. Okay, so for Rankine method you have something called A value. Okay, so what is the A value for wood, what is the A value for steel, what is the A value for cast iron. So there are some standard values which will be available in any textbook. So read that 4 materials A values for Rankine and what is Euler buckling load. So that is also important in columns and struts. Okay, remaining topics you can leave from this. And the next important topic is slope and deflection. So one of the important topic we can say. So important topics are slope and deflection, SFD, BMD, bending stress and simple stress. So these are very important topics. Regarding shortcuts, so I know most of you will be facing problem in slope and deflection. I will make a special video without solving how to find the slope and deflection. So we know these methods will consume a bit time. So when the question is easy, without solving how to find the slope and deflection or how to guess the answer, so I will make a special video on slope and deflection. Already I have made a video on SFD and BMD, you can watch that. Regarding thin and thick cylinders, you can absolutely leave thick cylinders. There is no possibility of getting a question from thick cylinders, you can leave that. And regarding thin cylinders, read only the problems related to hoop stress. Okay, that's all. So the remaining part is not required for us, only read the problems with respect to hoop stress. That's all. Okay, so that's all about the strength of materials. So read simple stresses completely and more circle in complex stress, in bending stress with respect to sections, how these variations takes place for bending stress, shear stress and torsional stress. Even though torsional stress is a shear stress, this is completely opposite to this. Okay, next, SFD and BMD, directly from the video you can solve anything, I think so. So if you have any queries on SFD and BMD, so how to identify whether it is convex or concave or any other type of queries, so do send me a mail. I will make a special video only on that doubt. So on that particular topic where you have doubt, I will release another video on that. Next, regarding springs, axial stiffness and what is parallel and series cases. Okay, in columns and struts, What are the effective lengths in different boundary conditions? What is Rankine number? What is Euler number? Slope and deflection. I will make a special video on slope and deflection maximum within the time. And you can leave thin cylinder. You can leave thick cylinder and thin cylinder. You read only problems on hoop stress. Okay. So this is about strength of materials. Next, coming to fluid mechanics. In GATE, we can see most of the questions we will be getting from open channels. But in state government examination, there is no special weightage for open channels. So almost every topic will have similar weightage. Okay, so now we will discuss what we can study from each topic. So regarding properties of fluid, definitely all the definitions are very important. You have to study all the definitions. What are the types of fluid? Bingham plastic, Newtonian fluid, what is pseudoplastic, what are the types of fluids we have? Everything we have to study. What is Newton's law, what is vapor pressure, okay. And regarding pressure statics, so pressure statics also very important. What is Pascal's law, what is metacentric height, okay. So pressure statics is also very important. How we use manometer to find the differential pressures, okay. And kinematics part, so as the calculator is not allowed, mostly we will not get much questions from kinematics. So if you do not have much time, better to leave kinematics, okay. So if you have time, then you can read some basic definitions like what is circulation ratio, what is streamline, what is flow line, what is streak line, what is path line, like this. So some basic definitions. So outline, you don't read any formulas from this, only what are the definitions. What is stream function and what is potential function. So like this, only the basic definitions you can read. So you need not remember any formulas from kinematics, it's not so important. So read only the basic definitions from kinematics and you can leave this, okay. Next, measurement equipments. So like manometer, venturimeter, orifice meter, notches, all these are very important. So one of the most important for government exams particularly, from equipments, definitely you will get at least 2 questions from equipments, okay. This is very important. And dynamics is also slightly important chapter. So suppose if you give a jet of water, so what is the force you are getting? Rho a v square. In different cases you will have different formulas. So just only read the standard cases. Apart from that, dynamics is not so important definitely. And boundary layer and compressed flow. So you need not read all this. So just read in boundary layer what is the definition of what do you mean by momentum thickness, what is you mean by energy thickness. So like this, what do you mean by boundary layer? Only outline definitions you can read. No formulas, no details are required for this, okay. And dimensional analysis is definitely one of the important topic, okay. So read the dimensional analysis completely. What is model, prototype for different cases, okay. So what is Froude number, what is Weber number, what is Reynolds number. So in dimensional analysis, what are the types of numbers we get, everything is very important in dimensional analysis. Open channels also, you may get a considerable number. In open channels, mostly we get the questions from uniform flow compared to non-uniform flow. But when it comes to get both uniform flow and non-uniform flow has good weightage in both the topics. But in government exams, mostly we can see questions from uniform flow. In non-uniform flow, you may get questions like hydraulic jump is an example of non-uniform flow. Surge is an example of non-uniform flow. Hydraulic jump is an example for unsteady flow, steady flow, like this. And surge is an example for unsteady flow. So like this, with respect to case, whether it comes to steady uniform or steady non-uniform, like this, okay. Next, pipe flow, okay. So in complete fluid mechanics, the most important topics is pipe flow, okay. So read this pipe flow completely. What is Darcy's-Weisbach equations? So from that only we will get most of the questions. What is laminar flow, what is turbulent flow, okay. So from this laminar flow also you may get good number of questions. So F is equal to 16 by RA or 64 by RE. So like this, what is Darcy's friction factor? So regarding pipe flow, we will be getting enough number of questions. So read the pipe flow completely, and you can leave hydraulic machines. In civil engineering point of view, hydraulic machines is not so important, but particularly for tribal welfare department posts, it is combinedly for it is same exam for both civil and mechanical, and you have to read only strength of materials and fluid mechanics for that. Okay, in that case hydraulic machines is very important, but if you are writing for civil engineering post, then this is not so important in my point of view. Okay, so that's all about fluid mechanics. Coming to steel and concrete structures. In steel structures, in introduction part, what are the different types of rolled sections that are available in India? So read all the abbreviations. So what is ISWB, what is ISHB, and what is the difference between limit state of strength and limit state of serviceability, and what is the IS code number? We use IS 800 2007. And in introduction part, what are the types of load combinations we use? That is also important. And what is the value of factor of safeties of the bolts we use? Okay, so that are the important topics for introduction part. Okay, next from the connections chapter, both welded connections and bolted connections all are important. Okay, so just read what are all the types of connections we have. So what are the types of lap connections, what are the types of butt connections in bolted welds we have. So single cover butt weld, double cover butt weld. So whether we take the maximum value of shear and bending, just see the design procedure. Don't remember any formulas. Okay, formulas are not so important for this exam particularly, but you have to know the design procedure with respect to welded connection and with respect to bolted connections, and what are the types of connections we have. Okay, so what is bracket connection, what is moment resisting connection, what is concentric connection, eccentric connection. So like this, read the types of connections and basic design procedure, and what are the types of bolts we have, what is HYSD bolt, what is normal bolt, what is rivet, what is bolt, like this, what is shank of the bolt, what is thread of the bolt. Okay, so read all the definitions. So for government exams, the definitions are very important. Wherever calculator is not allowed, there big formulas, we generally don't expect a very big formulas from that. Next we have in connections, we have tension members also. So in tension members, only read the basic design procedures like so what is net rupture strength, what is gross yielding strength, and what is block shear. Don't read any formulas. Formulas are not important for us. Read the basic design procedure. That's all. Okay. Next, plastic analysis. So if you get a problem in steel structure, definitely you will get from plastic analysis. This is very, very important. Read all the types of beams. Frames is not important for this exam. Read all the types of beams calculation for plastic analysis. What is moment resisting capacity, what is collapse load, okay, and what is shape factor, and what is plastic zone. So completely read plastic theory. You can leave frame part in plastic analysis for this exam. Next, complete part of beam theory. What is high shear load, what is low shear load, what is laterally constrained beam, what is laterally unconstrained beam, what is plate girder, what is gantry girder. Okay, so read all the theory of beams. Okay, so how we design a laterally unsupported beam is not so important for us, but you have to know the basic design procedure. Okay, so you need not remember any formulas in steel structures except plastic analysis. In plastic analysis, remember formulas for all the standard cases. What is the length of plastic zone of a cantilever with UDL? What is the length of plastic zone for a simply supported with concentrated load? What are at different cases? What is collapse load? What is moment capacity, plastic moment capacity? What are shape factors of rectangle, shape factors of diamond section, like this. Okay. Next, coming to concrete structures, in introduction part, we have to read what is characteristic strength, what is characteristic load, stress strain curves of steel, stress strain curves of concrete, and what is Young's modulus of concrete, what are the load combinations we have. So like this, all the important definitions whatever we have, introduction part is very, very important. And the design of single reinforced beam, this is also very important in concrete structures. And double reinforced is not so important, just read in which situation we use double reinforced, okay. But single reinforced is very important. What is balanced section, what is under reinforced section, what is over reinforced section, what is minimum percentage of steel, what is the maximum percentage of steel we can use, why do we use minimum percentage of steel, everything is important in single reinforced, okay. So you don't leave anything in single reinforced, but in double reinforced read only theory, where do we use doubly reinforced beams, okay. And regarding T beams also, problematic questions are not important, only where do we use T beams, in which situations, what are the types. So suppose if you have dF by D less than or is equal to depth of flange by effective depth less than or is equal to 0.2, if it is greater than 0.2, what are the different cases we have, you just see that cases, okay. So if dF by D, where will be my neutral axis, if dF by D greater than 0.2, where will be my neutral axis. So like this conceptual questions are important for T beams, okay. So coming to slabs, footings and columns, in slabs in the syllabus they have given yield theory, so you need not remember yield theory, but you have to remember what are the yield lines for standard cases, okay. So you may get a question for that. So how to draw yield lines for standard cases, like suppose if you have a rectangle, two-way rectangle connected on the four sides, then your yield lines will be like this. So these are positive yield lines and these are negative yield lines. So like this, for different cases, what are the shapes of yield lines, just observe that shapes and the remaining yield theory, and what is the maximum diameter we can use in slab, that is total depth divided by 8, okay. So that's all, apart from that in slabs nothing to remember, okay. What is the minimum percentage of steel, we use 0.15% for Fe250 and 0.12% of the cross section of concrete for Fe415 and Fe500, okay. And what is the maximum dia we use for steel is capital D divided by 8 times. And what are the failure lines, yield lines, okay, field line patterns, okay. So coming to footings, okay, read what is one-way shear, what is two-way shear, what is the strength we take in one-way shear, what is the strength we take in two-way shear, that's enough for footing, okay. So one-way shear failure, two-way shear failure, bending, okay, we can read bending also. So failure through bending, failure through one-way shear, failure through two-way shear, that's all. So remaining things are not important for footings. Next, column. In columns you have to read what is the formula for PU, what is the formula for PUZ, and when we use helical reinforcement the value of PU has to be increased by 5%, okay. And also remember all the failure limits, so wherever you are reading, remember all the failure limits. Suppose if you come to compression, in compression the failure limit for strain is 0.002. Suppose if you come to bending, the failure limit is 0.0035. If the column is subjected to bending, then the failure point strain is 0.0035 minus 0.75 times of strain in least compressed fibers. So like this, wherever you have limit, that limits are very important. Suppose if you take serviceability, the maximum amount of shrinkage strain is 3 into 10 to the power of minus 4. So like this, whatever the limit values we have, read that limits definitely, okay, that are also very important. Next, coming to serviceability, you have to remember what is the maximum deflection. So maximum deflection immediately after the construction, and what is the maximum deflection finally. So final maximum deflection is limited to L by 250. And also you have to read lateral stability. For lateral stability, and also what is check for deflection. Okay, so check for deflection failure. is based on something called A values. For cantilever, simply supported and continuous, we have 7, 20, 26 values which we have to remember. So maximum deflection immediately after the construction, L by 350, final deflection L by 250, and lateral stability for cantilever and lateral stability for simply supported, what are the formulas we have, read also that. So the L value will be limited to 25B and 100B square by D for cantilever, and 60B and 250B square by D for simply supported. For lateral stability, how the length is limited, what is lateral stability, and check for deflection based on A values. These are important things. Okay, so apart from that, wherever you have standard limits for minimum and maximum, read all the limits everywhere wherever we have. So in singly reinforced, what is the minimum area of steel, what is the maximum area of steel, what is the minimum diameter we can use, what is the maximum diameter we can use, what is the maximum size of coarse aggregate we can use. And in DF by in T beams we can see the ratio of DF by D less than or equal to, and also you have a special case here, DF by XU less than or is equal to 0.43. so this also has some significance. You can read what is why DF by XU less than or equal to 0.43 as a special significance. You can read in any textbook. And in slabs, as I said you, the limits what you have to remember in serviceability. In columns, the maximum axial strain is limited to 0.002, and the minimum number of bars we have to use for a rectangular section is 4, for circular section is 6, for octagonal section is 8. And what is the minimum dia we can use for a lateral tie, what is the minimum dia we can use for a longitudinal bar, like this. Everywhere wherever you have limit, read everything in RCC. Okay, because compared to steel structures, RCC will have very good weightage in government sector examination. So don't neglect concrete structures and also concrete technology, both will have very good weightage, so don't neglect these subjects. Okay, so that is about steel structures and concrete structures. Okay, comparatively steel structures will have less weightage, whether it is in gate exam or public sector examinations. Okay, but concrete structures will have very good weightage. Even when it comes to interview, most of the questions will be based on concrete technology, because those people who has worked practically compared to the persons who worked with steel structures, structural steel, the persons who worked with concrete structures will be more in number. So mostly they will try to ask you the questions with respect to concrete only. Okay, so while preparing for the interview also, this topic is very important. Okay, next, coming to structural analysis, as most of the questions in structural analysis will consume some time, now we have to select a type of questions which consumes less amount of time, and definitely static and kinematic indeterminacy is a best example for that. Okay, so definitely you will get a question from static and kinematic indeterminacy. If a good weightage is given for structural analysis, definitely they have to give static and kinematic indeterminacy. Okay, so you have to be perfect in this topic. I will try to release a video, so maximum within 1 hour you can learn about static and kinematic indeterminacy. So how I have released SFD and BMD video, so similarly I will release some shortcuts how to find the static and kinematic indeterminacy. So apart from that, the next important topic is influence lines. Even influence line has a good chance of getting questions. Okay, so moment distribution method not so important, read only the theory factors like what is a distribution factor. Okay, so how to find the distribution factor for different cases. Okay, so what is relative stiffness, what is actual 4EI by L, I by L, so what is stiffness, what is relative stiffness, so read that from moment distribution. Slope deflection method for exams without calculator, definitely we cannot get any questions from this. Okay, and regarding energy method, so read the statement of the theorems like Castigliano theorems and Maxwell-Bettis theorem. Okay, so such theorem statements are very important for this type of exams, so read such statements. So methods are not so important. Okay, and trusses, so definitely one of the important in state government. Okay, so after static and kinematic indeterminacy, next important topic is trusses. So finding zero forces is also very important. Okay, so finding zero forces or force in a small member. Okay, there is definitely a good chance of getting trusses. So if the question misses here, definitely next question will come in trusses. So if you want to save time for structural analysis, you can read these two topics. and you can leave the remaining. Okay, if possible, try to remember the standard formulas for cable and arches for different loading cases. Okay, so what is 3 hinged arch, what is 2 hinged arch, what are the different thrust reaction values with respect to loading. So remember the standard cases and you can leave the remaining structural analysis. Okay, next coming to hydrology and irrigation. In hydrology, mostly you will get questions from either precipitation, hydrograph, infiltration, wells. Okay, evaporation is not so important. So in precipitation, what are the types of precipitation we have, what are the forms of precipitation we have. So types of precipitation: convective rainfall, orographic rainfall, cyclonic rainfall, and forms of precipitation like snow, drizzle, rainfall, hail. So like this, what are the forms of precipitation, and how do we measure the number of rain gauges required? N is equal to CV by E whole square formula. And what are the methods to find mean precipitation, like arithmetic method, isoheight method, and Thiessen polygon method. So to find mean precipitation, what are the methods we have, that are also important. And coming to evaporation, it's not so important, we can leave the topic. And in hydrograph and infiltration, in infiltration definitely 5 index problem is very important. So read all the possible problems from 5 index and also from hydrograph. So read these 2 topics thoroughly. And in wells also you can read what are the types of wells, what is aquitard, what is aquiclude, what is aquifer, and what is a tube well, and what is a gallery. Okay, so read all the basic definition, what is specific retentivity, what is specific yield, what is specific yield capacity, what is intrinsic permeability. So like this, all the definitions from the wells are very important. What is a recuperation test in the wells. Okay, so with this we will finish hydrology. And next coming to irrigation, most important topic, water requirement of crops. So in water requirement of crops, we know duty delta problems are very important. Apart from that, read what are the kharif crops, what are rabi crops, what are perennial crops, what is hot weather crops, cold weather crops. So let's read the list of crops and also seasons and all the definitions. So try to complete water requirement crops, even including the problem, because there is a possibility of getting a problem, because it's very easy chapter. Okay, and also read theory from diversion headworks. Okay, so what is Bly's creep theory, what is Laney's creep theory, what is Kosla's theory, what is a weir, what is a barrage. So like this, try to finish the diversion headworks also, this is also very important. And definitions from canal outlet, what is a rigid module, or what is a flexible module, what is semi-rigid module, and what is a proportional outlet. Okay, what is sensitivity. So you have some definitions in canal outlet. So read all those definitions, what is the relation between flexibility and sensitivity, like this. Okay, so what is water course, what is distribution channel. Okay, so these are important topics for state governments, and even the list is same for GATE exam and also state government exam for both these subjects. Coming to environmental engineering, we know environmental engineering is very vast subject, and it has 5 parts, that is water supply, wastewater, solid waste management, and air pollution and noise pollution. So as the syllabus is very vast, to save your time, I have constrained the syllabus as far as possible because of the time constraint. So coming to water supply, so water demand. So in water demand, read what are the population estimation and variation in demand, like what is the maximum daily demand, what is coincident drop, what is maximum hourly demand. So these variations. Okay, so what is Goodrich formula. Okay, so that are important in water demand. Next, coming to quality characteristics of water, read all the permissibility limits. So what is the maximum value of pH we can have, what is the maximum value of chlorides, nitrates, all this. Apart from that, problems on hardness, problems on pH, these are also very important. Okay, so coming to treatment methods, so sedimentation very important, filtration is also important, and disinfection is also important. Okay, so we can say treatment methods, almost every method is important. Okay, so while reading, you can judge by yourself whether without calculator is there a possibility to get a question. So while reading yourself, you just think in that way and solve the questions accordingly. Okay, Next, coming to distribution system, read all the types of valves. What is air valve, what is Lewis valve, what is butterfly valve, in which situations we use that. So read those details. And what are the types of distribution system, what is ring system, what is grid system, like that. Okay, because in Telangana, whatever the water grid project we are doing, so you have to know what is that grid system. So this distribution system also very important. Okay, so that is about water supply. In wastewater, estimation of waste is not so important. In characteristics, problems on BOD, COD, and theory on BOD, COD is also very important. Coming to treatment, so first you have to read the difference between aerobic, anaerobic, and also you have to know the series of treatment even for water. So how do we treat? So screening, so first we will be doing screening, and then we will be doing sedimentation. So what is preliminary treatment, what is primary treatment, what is secondary treatment. So what we do in all these stages, so where the disinfection will come here. So like this, what are this flow of treatment you have to read definitely. Okay, so you have a very good chance to get a question in flow. Okay, so that is about wastewater treatment. And disposal is not so important. In disposal, only read what are zones of pollution. Okay, so just read the zones of pollution. And remember, the minimum value of dissolved oxygen in water is 4 ppm. That's a very important bit we have to remember. For survival of marine environment, at least 4 ppm oxygen is required. Okay, and also required what is zones of pollution. Okay, next, coming to solid waste management. So read what are the types of solid waste management we have, like composting, pyrolysis, incineration. What are the other types of methods whatever we have. And also in composting we have Indore method and Bangalore method. Okay, so read the details of these methods. And also you have to read the methods in such a way that when a particular waste is given to you, how you will treat that waste. Suppose if I give a plastic, so whether you will do a pyrolysis, whether you do a incineration, whether you do composting, so which method you prefer. Okay, so you should be able to. So suppose if I give a vegetable waste, so how you will treat that. Suppose if I give a inorganic waste, how you will treat that. Okay, so like that, depending on the situation, which type of method we have to use. So read that, you may get a question in that way. Okay, next, coming to air pollution. In GATE you may get a problematic question or theory question in air pollution, but coming to state government jobs, mostly you will get a theory question from air pollution. Okay, so read what is primary pollutants, what are secondary pollutants, different names, what are the diseases that causes by CO, like this. Okay, so what are the different compounds that causes different diseases. Okay, next, coming to noise pollution. Both theory and problems are important. What is the noise levels we have to find. So what is the noise limits for a particular case. In schools, what is the limit of noise level. In auditoriums, what is the limit of noise level, and how to convert pressure into decibel, how to calculate average decibel, how to calculate the L equivalent, what is L equivalent concept, what is Ln concept. So all those are important in noise pollution. Okay, so that's all about environmental engineering. Next, coming to geotechnical engineering. Geotechnical engineering is divided into two parts, soil mechanics and foundation engineering. So in soil mechanics, the first part, origin of soil. So in origin of soil, read the different types of origins and different types of weathering. What is mechanical weathering, what is chemical weathering, and what is the origin of soil, whether it is a residual soil or transported soil. If it is transported soil, what is the name of the soil depending on method of transportation. And also what is the structures of the soil called clay mineralogy. What is a kyanite mineral, what is a halloysite mineral. So like this, what are the types of minerals we have, what is illonite, what is mantamonite. So like this, what are the types of clay minerals we have. And we know mantamonite will have huge swelling, and the example is black cotton soil. So like that, basic things in clay mineralogy also just have a look. So don't go in specific way. So what is the size of mantamonite, what is the gap we have. So don't go into the details. So just have a outlook on clay mineralogy. Okay, so and also in clay mineralogy, you remember that the face of the clay particle will look flaky like this. The face of the clay particle is always negatively charged and the face of the clay particle may be positive or negative charged. Based on this only the different orientation of the clay particles will happen. Like you cannot have face to face contact because always face is negative. So face may be connected to edge, or edge may be connected to edge, or face may be connected. So based on this, different formations of clay minerals can happen. So read the what are the types of structures can happen. Okay, honeycomb structure, dispersed structure, there are different type of structure. So just have a look about it. Okay, next regarding definitions, so we will have definitions like what is void ratio, what is water content, and in the next chapter we will have different definitions and relations between, so how void ratio and porosity can be related. So like this, so these two definitions, so these two are very very important, because if a problem comes, mostly it should come from this only, because it is very easy. Okay, next coming to consistency limit, so you have to read all the definitions in consistent, what is plastic limit, what is shrinkage limit, what is liquid limit, and the tests. So what is plastic limit test, what is liquid limit test, and what is toughness index, what is plasticity index. So all these definitions are very very important. What is activity of clay, like this. So you have to remember all this, and with the values, so you will have certain values for each and everything, so also remember the values. Okay, so coming, there is nothing like an important chapter in geotechnical engineering. So in exam point of view, so just you have to read what are important from that. So as geotechnical is a vast subject and everything is important, so within the available time, so if it is problematic, so you better leave that. Okay, so if you have problems like properties and relations, easy problems, then you solve it. So problems in consistency limit will consume more time compared to this. Okay, so if you do not have time, so read theory in consistency limit and leave the problems. Definitely most of the problems in consistency limit will take some time definitely. And regarding permeability and seepage, tests on permeability like constant head test, variable head test, these two are very very important. And in seepage we have one dimensional seepage and two dimensional seepage. Okay, so both are important. So one dimensional seepage, again you have upward flow and also downward flow. So if there is upward seepage, we have something called boiling or quicksand condition. Okay, so you will get that only in upward flow. So how the pressure varies in downward flow and upward flow, so just have a look. And also capillarity, so with respect to capillarity, how the effective stress will vary, that is also very important. So how the effective stress will vary with respect to seepage while traveling to the bottom and while traveling to the top. Okay, in this seepage again you have one dimensional seepage, that is top or bottom, and two dimensional seepage which we see in dams. Okay, so the equation of the phreatic line which we see, that is also important. Okay, so in two dimensional seepage, the value of k is given as the flow is in two directions, the k value is taken as square root of kx into ky. This is an important formula. And we have a formula for finding discharge in two dimensional flow, that is q is equal to kh into nf by nd. So this is discharge per meter cube per second per meter length we will be calculating the discharge. Okay, so these two are very very important formulas when it comes to seepage. Okay, next coming to compaction test, so read the what is optimum moisture content, what is dry of optimum, what is wet of optimum, and also read what are the difference in the soil properties with respect to dry of optimum and also wet of optimum. Okay, so that OMC curves and Proctor test to calculate OMC test, both are very very important. And coming to consolidation concept, so read the theory of consolidation. Okay, so what is Terzaghi spring analogy, and what is coefficient of consolidation, what is coefficient of compressibility. Okay, so what is AV, what is VV, what is CC, what is coefficient of consolidation CV. So basic relations. Okay, you need not remember big formulas in consolidation. Okay, so what are the small empirical relations which we have? So for coefficient of compression we have empirical formula 0.009 into WL minus liquid limit minus 10. So like the small formulas which we have, so read such and also Terzaghi one dimensional theory, that is also very very important. Okay, And coming to shear strength, in shear strength, Skempton's pore pressure parameters are very important, and also shear strength tests also very important. While reading the shear strength tests, also read which type of test is applicable to which type of soil. Okay, so from the beginning onwards, you read all the tests and for which type of soils we can use. So suppose if you want to find the density of a soil in the field, we use sand replacement test or core cutter test. So in which case we can use sand replacement, in which case we use core cutter test. Suppose if you want to find the moisture content test, what are the tests we have to find moisture content? Okay, so whether you will do a sand bath method, whether we will place in oven drying method or calcium carbide method, which is the quickest method. Quickest method is calcium carbide method. That is also an important bit. Okay, so from the beginning, so what are all the tests we have in geotechnical engineering? Completely, you don't read the procedure, you don't read the description and procedure of the test. Just read what is the name of the test and why we are performing it. That's all. All the IS codes are not important and procedure is not important. Okay, so just have a outline look of each and every test in geotechnical engineering. Okay, so you can find the list in any geotechnical laboratory manual also. So just see the list and important factors in that. Okay, so coming to foundation engineering, so in state government exams, most probably you will get more questions from soil mechanics compared to foundation engineering. Okay, so in earth pressure also mostly you will get theoretical questions only, and that will be mostly on Rankine's theory only, not from Coulomb's theory. In Coulomb's theory, just read the what is delta. So what is the value of delta roughness coefficient in different situations. That's all. More than that, this theory is not important. Okay, but Rankine's theory is very, very important. Okay, and slope stability. So for slope stability, don't read any complex formulas. So if you feel the formula is easy, remember that formulas, or else you can leave the slope stability. And coming to bearing capacity, Terjagi theory and Skempton theory are very, very important in this case. Apart from that, also read the basic definitions like what is ultimate bearing capacity, what is net ultimate bearing capacity, what is safe bearing capacity, what is net safe bearing capacity. So what are the basic definitions? So what is the formula of bearing capacity based on Terjagi theory? What is the value of shape factor for a pure clay? With respect to shape of dimension, how the strength varies with respect to clay, and pile load test. So wherever you have a test, that is important. So that is by default you can remember. Okay, so plate load test is important, and what are all the types of tests we have, that are also very, very important. So in piles you have pile load test, and here also you will have plate load test, which is very, very important. Okay, and in Skempton theory is also very important for finding the bearing capacity. Even in Terjagi theory, so read what are the types of failure, what is general shear failure, local shear failure, punching shear failure. So read all the types of failures, what is passive zone, active zone, radial zone. So read all the types of zones. Okay, so bearing capacity, so in foundation engineering, most important topic is bearing capacity. And coming to deep foundation, read what are all the types of piles we have. So that is friction pile, bearing pile, and what is negative friction. Okay, so you need not remember the formulas here. So mostly if calculator is not allowed, you will have mostly theory questions. If you have problematic questions also, it will be very, very easy. Okay, particularly in state government examinations. Coming to surveying, in the introduction part of the surveying, you have to read what are the types of surveying. So that is very, very important. So read all the types of surveyings and errors. So in errors, what are the types of errors we have? What are random errors? What is observation error? And what is shrinkage error? Errors in maps. So all the different types of errors we have. What is hypotenuse allowance? So what are all the types of errors and their corrections is very, very important. And coming to chain survey, read all the types of chains available in the market. So what is a engineer chain? Okay, what is Gunter's chain? Okay, so what is metric chain? So what are all the types of chains we have? Apart from that, you have to read the procedure of chain survey also. What is ranging? what is a obstacle, what is obstacle to ranging, what is obstacle to chainage, what are the examples of that. Okay, suppose if I say a river, is it obstacle for a ranging, or is it obstacle for chainage, or is it obstacle for the both? So read all the situations and examples for different things, and you need not read the specification of the equipment, but you have to know the purpose of each and everything we are using in chain survey. Okay, what is a tag, where we for what, for how many links we will place the tag, what are the types of chains we have, what is a ranging rod, where we use it. Okay, what is a arrow, what is a pin, so what is a wood peg, so like that. So whatever the component we use, you have to know the details of that. Okay, so in other things the procedure is not, in other subjects the procedure is not important, but in surveying you have to know the procedure also, procedure of doing that particular thing. Okay, particular experiment. Next, coming to compass survey, one of the most important topic, whether you come to GATE exam or state government, you will get so many questions. Okay, with respect to bearing, what is bearing, what is declination, what is inclination or dip. Okay, so like this, you may get a problematic question or theoretical question, most important. So what are the types of compasses we have? Prismatic compass, surveyor compass, what is quadrantal bearing, what is whole circle bearing, like this. Okay, in surveyor compass we use quadrantal bearing, in prismatic compass we use whole circle bearing. So what is whole circle, what is meridian, what is declination. Okay, so read everything in compass survey, this is very very important. And coming to leveling, so read types of leveling, what is differential leveling, what is profile leveling, and also read some problems of inverted level. Suppose if you want to find the RL of the floor, how you will find? So you will find a number of questions in previous GATE exam. So solve such type of question, there is absolute possibility of getting such type of questions. So based on RL of the floor, how we find the RL of the slab? By placing the staff inverted. So you will reverse the staff by placing inverted to find the RL of the slab. Such type of problem is very important. And also problems on coefficient of curvature. Coefficient of curvature. So we have a formula 0.0673 d square. So where you will get this answer in meters, but you have to substitute the distance in kilometers. Okay, so that is a very very important note you have to remember. So we will substitute the horizontal distance in kilometers and we will get the height correction in meters. So what is refraction? This is combined correction, whatever I have given. So what is curvature correction? What is refraction correction? What is combined correction? Okay, so whether it is negative or positive, refraction correction is positive, curvature correction is negative. Okay, and it is a topic in leveling. And in tachymetry, so tachymetry is very very important topic coming to GATE exam, but in government jobs from tachymetry you may not get so many questions, but from theodolite you may get questions. So in which situation we use theodolite, and what is temporary adjustment, what are permanent adjustments. Okay, so read such theory. Equipment details are not so important. Okay, but equipment details are not so important, but in which situation we use this and what are the types of methods we have. So you read that and you can read the remaining. Okay, what are the types of crosshairs we have, like that. Okay, in tachymetry also, what are the types of methods we have? Fixed hair method, movable hair method, tangential method. Okay, so just read the types of methods, okay, and basic formulas, and you can leave the remaining. Okay, regarding plane table survey, so just read the names of the methods. What is 2-point method, what is 3-point method, what is resection. So just read what are the types of methods, how we perform. Okay, don't go into the details. And also in table survey, read what are the equipments we have and their purpose. What is alidate? So if I say what is alidate, you should be able to say that it is a equipment which we use in plane table survey. Okay, so like that. Okay, so because you may get a right or wrong answer, assertion reason question, so you may get anything like that. So know all the equipment details where we are using. Okay, so equipment detail doesn't mean that what is the dimension of this. So you need not remember any dimensions or colors, that are not important. Okay, So conceptually, so where in which situation which equipment we have to use, what are the types of equipments available with us, so that kind of questions are very important, and we can expect problematic questions also from the surveying definitely. Okay, so that is about surveying. So till now I have discussed all the topics in each and every subject, which topics we have to study, but which type of questions we have to practice is more important. Okay, so practicing questions is more important than theory. So if you, as you have very less time, so in this time practicing questions is definitely more important than understanding the concept. Okay, so what are the sources which are available to you? So everyone will have previous GATE questions, previous IAS questions. Okay, don't solve all GATE questions or IAS questions. Okay, we have to solve it selectively. Okay, so when you see the question without calculator, if you are able to solve that question is important for GATE. Okay, simple technique. Okay, so without using calculator, so whether it is a theory question or conceptual question, if calculator is not required, you have to read such question whether it is GATE or IAS. Okay, so as GATE exam is more about numerical, more questions will come from engineering services, or also even from civil services also you can get some questions, and previous state services questions also we can get. Okay, so not only from Telangana state, you can get the papers from other states, or you can see the SSC JE paper. So where are all only theory questions they are conducting, where they are using only conceptual questions. So collect the list of such exams, or you can buy a book which constitutes only this particular exam. Okay, so whether it is TSPSC or APPSC or anything. Okay, so buy that book and you can have enough practice, but you have to solve GATE and IAS also, because there is a possibility of getting the question exactly from there. Okay, so whatever the question you have, exactly the same question may repeat in this exam. So that is the reason you have to practice all the theory and conceptual questions from GATE, IAS. Okay, even in online also you will have some websites where you can find all these theory questions. So if you do not have book, even in online also you can get these questions for free. Practice is more important than the proficiency in the subject now within the less time. So don't concentrate much to get into deep into the subject. Okay, practice adequate number of the question, exposed to more number of questions, and as the calculator is not allowed, but still there is a possibility of getting questions with respect to calculation. I will make a special video on shortcuts of calculation. Okay, without using a calculator, how to solve calculations in a simple way. So I will make a video on that. So my next video will be on shortcuts on calculation. I hope you like this video. Thanks for watching.